So tonight, we're not just looking at a box score. No, we are diving into the story of one single game against one specific rival that could actually define a team's entire season. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, this game is a massive fork in the road. To really get why this game is so huge, you've got to understand where the Timberwolves have been. I mean, they were coming off this brutal 4-game losing streak, and yeah, they managed to squeak out 2 wins. But these weren't exactly dominant performances. They were against shorthanded, kind of struggling teams. As the source material puts it so well, it felt less like a comeback and more like just grabbing a life raft to keep your head above water. And just as they're catching their breath, the yacht pulls into town, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And look, they're not just one of the best teams in the conference. They're confident, they're rested, and they are here to find out if Minnesota's little recovery is for real or if it's all just a mirage. Now, this isn't just any old opponent. Oh no, this is a rivalry with some fresh scar tissue. The Thunder are the very team that knocked Minnesota out last spring. And you better believe that memory, that ghost, is hanging right over this matchup. So let's just lay out the immediate challenges. Because on paper, this looks really, really tough for Minnesota. I mean, the deck feels completely stacked against them before the game even starts. And here is the biggest problem. Minnesota is basically running on fumes. This is their second game in 2 nights. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City, they've just been waiting. They're rested, they're ready. It's one of those classic schedule traps that's really designed to show you what a team is made of. But there's a bit of a twist. The playing field might be a little more level than it looks. See, OKC has its own problems. They're missing some key guys who are a huge part of their whole high-energy, chaotic style. That definitely takes some of the bite out of their attack. You can't rely on your opponent's injuries, though. That is a dangerous, dangerous game, especially for this Timberwolves team. As the source warns, they've had this tendency to self-sabotage lately. I mean, this quote just says it all. It perfectly captures their habit of making these mind-numbing mistakes, which means OKC's injuries are absolutely no guarantee of a Minnesota win. Okay, so how do they win? A victory isn't impossible, not at all, but it's going to take something close to a perfect game. So let's break down the 5-point blueprint, the playbook the Timberwolves have to follow to pull this off. First and foremost, a tired team absolutely cannot afford a slow start. It's just not an option. OKC is built to punish fatigue. So Minnesota has to set the tone right from the opening tip. And what does that mean? It means winning the hustle plays, getting on the floor for the first loose ball, owning those 50-50 rebounds. They have to play like their hair is on fire. And this energy has to be physical too. You know, the first time OKC's superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander tries to drive into the lane, somebody on that court for Minnesota has to send a message. A legal, firm, grown man message. Not dirty, just a physical nope. A declaration that nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to be easy tonight. All right, key number 2 is the game plan for that superstar. Here's the thing. You don't really stop a player like SGA. It's not going to happen. The goal is to shape his game. You want to influence where he goes, what kind of shots he takes, and make every single possession a tough negotiation for him. So how do you do that? Well, here are the tactics. It's about throwing bigger defenders at him, clogging up the lane so he sees a crowd, and basically using your all-star center as the bouncer at the club door. The entire goal is to make Shai's teammates be the ones who have to beat you, all while playing with this perfect mix of aggression and discipline. Now, on offense, the key is to avoid their absolute worst habit, that stagnant, one-on-one, my turn, your turn basketball. Against a tough defense like OKC's, that's just a recipe for disaster. The ball has to pop, quick decisions, extra passes. That creates chaos for the defense, and that chaos creates the one thing a tired team desperately needs: easy baskets. Minnesota has a clear size advantage here. I mean, it's right there on paper. Tonight is the night to make it count. It can't just be some theoretical edge. It has to show up in the box score. As second chance points, as punishing offensive rebounds, they need to be the bullies on the block and just own the glass. And finally, the last and maybe the most crucial key of all: discipline. Minnesota has got to stop being its own worst enemy. That means valuing every single possession and cutting out the unforced errors. You know what I'm talking about. The sloppy turnovers, the missed free throws, the mental lapses that have just killed them in close games. And look, this isn't just a feeling. It's a real number. In their recent losses, you can literally point to 8 to 12 points that were just given away by these kinds of self-inflicted mistakes. Against a team as good as Oklahoma City, those aren't just points, they're momentum killers that fuel fast breaks and bury you. So when you put all of this together, this game becomes a real moment of truth. It's one of those nights that's going to tell us which version of this Timberwolves team is the real one. Because these are the two conflicting identities we've seen all season long. You know them both. At their best, they look like a legit title contender. But at their worst, well, they look kind of disconnected, passive. This game is a choice. It's a choice between those two paths. A victory tonight on tired legs against this rival would be so much more than just another notch in the win column. It would be a powerful declaration. A statement that says, no, we're done with the inconsistency, we're done with the excuses, we're ready to be who we're supposed to be. Because here's the cold, hard truth about the NBA's Western Conference. The standings don't give you points for trying hard or for having good intentions. Nobody is going to remember that you almost came back or that you played tough in a loss. Come April, the only thing that matters is the final result. So it all comes down to this. The excuses, they're built in. They're valid. They're tired. The opponent is great, but the source material leaves us with this one last, really provocative thought. If you are a truly serious team with truly serious ambitions, you find a way to win. Anyway,